The consequences of their actions, people don't like to face them. Certainly, government officials don't like to face them because oftentimes they don't have to. Usually, some drastic has to happen in order for them to even consider that they fucked up. It's the benefit that you have of being number one, having a territorial monopoly on use of force, violence, and ultimate decision making. I mean, that's the obvious. But it's not the only thing. I think the primary thing here is the fact that it has an endless pool of fucking money to. Well, I guess the monopoly grants them that endless pool of fucking money to choose from, and it's stolen, so you don't have to earn it. So you can do whatever the fuck you want. But here is something that one of the most emotional and economically illiterate policies that have ever really been advocated. It doesn't matter if it's now or even back when this concept was first conceptualized and then put out there in public policy. Minimum wage is arguably the dumbest fucking shit that you can possibly implement in any sort of market economy, where it's an arbitrary sort of price floor, and it never ever amounts to anything as far as, let's say, lifting people out of poverty or preventing people from making, like, not making that much money. I've been doing this has been a subject that I've been covering for basically a decade. It's actually one of the first topics that I would cover, like, in so much detail, that got me out there as a kind of commentator in this space. But Portland, Maine, they had something that was about to go, it wasn't about to go in effect. It was a minimum wage hike that put workers like almost basically at $20 an hour. It was insane. Nonetheless, it went into effect on the 1st of this month. So January 1st, 2022. And they're walking it back because consequences, even in that short period of time, consequences and whatnot are real. So let's read into this and see what happened. City Council of Portland, Maine has voted to end COVID hazard pay for workers, a move that will reduce the minimum wage by $6.50. The $19.50 per hour hazard pay went into effect January 1st, 2022. The wage increase was approved by voters in a 2020 ballot referendum. Again, democracy. People will always vote for their own self-destruction because they're retards. These guys not mostly business owners, and this is why it's always been hilarious that people looked at any sort of democratic form of solving something as a like in a problem when half the people can't even wipe their own ass or wash their ass properly. Yet they get to vote, and they think that this is the more preferable form of governance. So the wage increase was approved by voters, and it was a way to help laborers who continue to work despite possibly exposing themselves to COVID-19. So again, it's just a purely emotional thing. Minimum wage in general is just an emotional concept. It's like people think that they could outdo or override economic law by their own individual emotions, and they think, oh, well, we just raise this minimum wage, then this going to equal more people making more money, and yeah, we're going to be in a better situation for more workers. But that's not how it works. That is a purely emotional concept, and it always has been. And this was something that was passed purely out of emotionalism. I remember when this was first talked about, because it wasn't the only effort. The referendum said the increased wage would be offered for as long as the city remained under a state of emergency due to the ongoing pandemic. Again, economic law be damned. However, on Monday night, the city council voted 8-1 to repeal the state's emergency order, which was instated in August of 2021. As a result, the order will be lifted on either January 13th or 14th, so the day of tomorrow, the day that I'm recording this. Councilors said they were swayed by comments made by business owners who said they would be burdened by the hazard pay increase. Some of the business owners who spoke at who spoke at council meetings said they had already faced lower revenues because of the pandemic. Many also said that they were expecting a slowdown during the winter months as people are staying indoors. However, the councilors said that they felt more should be done to address low wages and risk faced by frontline workers. The city's emergency order was never intended to stay in place forever. The pandemic has continued to present health risk even for vaccinated workers. It's a fucking virus, man. I'm deeply troubled by the idea we do have minimum wage workers in Portland who are frontline workers who are put at risk without any risk compensation on a daily basis. Well, you're an emotional communist, so you know that's I feel bad. Okay, so what? Not an argument. But yeah, there's Blaze actually covered some of the comments that had been made by local business owners. If you want to read their article when they covered this instance, or rather this sort of repeal, if you will, of this emergency or this law, which is effectively mandate, whatever you want to call it, that was just going to arbitrarily just increase everybody's pay. And so many people, these business owners, you know, the people who actually have something to fucking lose, are like, I can't pay this. Big businesses are the only ones that are going to be able to eat the cost. Guys like ourselves, the mom and pop shops, we just can't do that. And I'm not going to be able to continue to live in Portland in the event that this is something that is being implemented. So that was the influence as to why they were like, okay, well, the people that I don't know would have to pay the folks this much money aren't going to be able to do it, or are facing more economic consequences because of it. So we're not going to go through with it. And that's what happened. Now, unfortunately, this isn't something that's going to be happening all around the country because, again, most people are fucking brainless. And anytime that there's some dumbass policy that gets implemented, oftentimes you end up with a double down. That's always fun, isn't it? Double down. But seriously, there's still people out there that believe in minimum wages existing because they're retarded, to be fair. It's like the great Dr. Walter E. Williams, rest in peace, he said, like, if minimum wage worked like they said it would, then why on earth are we giving foreign aid to all of these countries when we just need to tell them to raise the minimum wage and then bam, right? Because minimum wage is retarded for many different reasons, but when you talk about an increase, right, of it, which it shouldn't be increased, it should be completely eliminated. Anyway, they think that, well, as the money, be it the money supply as it exists right now, and definitely with these inflationary issues, for sure, but they assume that the money is going to remain the same way it is. That's number one. Number two, they wrongfully assume that each business is going to basically eat the cost of that. So if you now have to pay and have to account for with your labor, more money being put into that, no business owner is going to say, okay, well, I'm just going to pay these guys more, meaning I'm losing money. My bottom line is going to be severely impacted by this. I'm not going to make any fucking adjustment whatsoever. And often the consequences are the adjustment in itself, not just direct in the policy of raising of a minimum wage, but it often is by the businesses making the adjustments. So if they have to cut workers, if they have to now they're going to hire more skilled workers that can kind of fill maybe the role of two people or something of that nature, where these lower skilled workers, who generally make those minimum wage jobs, are going to be completely assed out because of it. It's always been an emotional thing. It was never even when it was first conceptualized in America. So you look at like the history of these unions and the Bacon-Davis Act and all of that stuff. When you got a lot of folks don't know this, and this isn't the only place. It's happened in South Africa as well, and Australia, where they actually had more racial aspects as to why the minimum wage was implemented. In America's case, the first ones were implemented, or rather advocated for, because white union workers didn't want to compete with it wasn't just blacks, it was like women as well as young people as well in terms of their labor. So that's why they wanted to have a minimum wage per se. Ironically enough, it impacts and still like its mere existence. A lot of the people that suffer the most from it are those groups anyway, even to this day. But it's a purely emotional, nonsensical thing to advocate that is a feel good. It's like, because it requires nothing of you to say, I want you to make more money, right? So and so, this is what they always say. So single mother of three can't live on minimum wage. Number one, why the fuck is a single mother of three a single mother of three? That's a cultural problem. We can talk about that later. But anyway, why is a single mother of three working a minimum wage job? Number one. Number two, you're not paid for your mistakes. No business pays you with the idea in mind that you fucked up and you got knocked up and you had a bunch of children that you couldn't afford to take care of, and that's on the business to compensate you for that. No, just as your stupid ass can fill that job, someone else with no kids can fill the job as well. You're not paid for your personal life. You're paid in the value and the position that it is that you are filling. Again, it's just fundamental economics eludes all of these people because they are purely emotional, and one of the most rotten, economically destructive laws and that's on the books, and it's worse because people are advocating that it be increased, is the minimum wage laws. You can go watch all of my own video. Hell, I talked with Tucker Carlson, Fox News, talking about minimum wage. This is a topic that I've talked so much about extensively over the years.